So we're going to talk a little bit about, your history. We'll take it from the beginning, up to date, and we'll talk about, the journey you've been through, and you could tell us, I guess, kind of what you've been working on lately. But let's start kind of in the beginning.
What I hear often is, we don't know enough about you. But that's always annoying to me and interesting because I know that I've literally been in the thick of this for over 10 years. You buy my that I wanna. You buy my that I wanna make love to. I think that it's important for people to know, Netta, the artist, the young girl, the teenager, the high school student, the college student, but all the while still being this aspiring artist that I've dreamt about since I was 3. I think one of my earliest memories is being like 3 years old in the bathroom, standing on the counter, looking at myself in the mirror and pretending I was like at a concert performing for thousands of people, right? MC Hammer is one of my earliest memories of like a performing artist. MC Hammer, Michael Jackson, just these pandemonium, like these concerts with thousands of people and just the energy that I would get, like being a 3 or 4-year-old kid, understanding what that meant, right? My mom used to get her hair done. She used to get these freezes, that's what they used to call them. Diamond Ken used to do MC Hammer's hair too. All the dancers, he had a whole, like he was basically like the stylist for them. So they would come into the hair shop and I would be there and they had this jukebox and I would just like dance. I would go crazy. And I think my mom's hairdresser had noticed that in me at a young age. And so we got to go to an MC Hammer concert. Somehow we got to the front and he pulled me on stage and I did like some 8 count with him. I can literally still see it in my head right now. This is when it was the Coliseum. It was something about that. I had to be no more than 5, but it was something about that feeling that I had. I was like, oh, this is what I do. I'm a dancer, I'm a rapper, I'm a singer, I'm something that is entertaining to people. I knew it. There's nothing else that I've ever wanted to do more than entertain people.
When I sit at the table writing my rhymes, as I read it, it sounds just fine. Reading and writing is an inspiration, not a bad thing like segregation. Reading and writing is the key. You can be a success, like I'm gonna be.
My father passed away when I was 11, right? But before he passed away, he had a drinking problem. One of the things that I do remember was a lot of domestic violence in our house, when he began to drink. And I would be terrified, right? Like I would be afraid of doors being closed. It was a lot of things that I went through at a young age because of what was going on in my house. And I think the most consistent thing at that time for me was like listening to music. So music eventually became like my best friend. I feel like I don't know a lot about my dad, right? Like what I knew is that he was a lover of jazz and he would get really drunk and he would wake me up in the middle of the night and he'd be playing all these records for me. Like it would be like Billy Eckstine, Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday. He would make me listen to all these jazz. But I didn't know if he was a singer at one point. I don't know what his connection was to music, but I knew he understood a great song and what feeling that brought on or whatever. But I feel like I did not know enough about him. Me and my younger sister, there would be a lot of things going on around us that we didn't understand. Like when my father passed away, we didn't know how to, were we supposed to cry? Like, what does this mean? Like nobody was there to really talk to us about any of this. But then when he got sick, I was kind of happy when he got sick because I could go to sleep at night. You know what I mean? Like I could go to sleep and know that nobody's gonna be fighting because he wasn't able to. I don't really feel like I know a lot about my mom and dad's relationship. I know they were together. I tried to ask recently, It's almost like I'm prying into somebody else's life, even though I'm connected to it. And sometimes I do have thoughts like, oh wow, like, and it may sound stupid, but I do think about things like, would he be proud of me? You know, would he think that I was a pretty girl? Like, like, these are things that I think about, but, you know, I'm the middle child. There's three of us, three girls. I like middle kids because I feel like we are often complicated, but we like special. My oldest sister, we are 11 years apart. So she's kind of like my mom too, you know? And then my younger sister, we are 3 years apart. My younger sister was very tough. Like, it's crazy how kids can experience the same things, and then however you experience it determines how you view things or how you kind of maneuver through life, I guess. Because for me, like, in watching like my mom and dad's relationship, it's weird to say mom and dad. That sounds so weird. It made me feel like, okay, I don't want an alcoholic for a boyfriend. Just everything that happened with them literally terrified me. So I think it made me timid to certain things in a way. Whereas my younger sister was like the tough sister. Like, she gonna beat somebody up for me. Like, I'm not gonna fight. Like, she gonna, where they at, what we doing? Like, that was just her energy. See, my sister died over 10 years ago now. But I always admired my younger sister because I always felt like she had this fire, like this sass, this energy. Like I said, like, she would beat somebody up for me. Like, we were just different in that way. And then my older sister is like, she is smart. She's so smart. Went to college. She was raising us while she was in college. What my mom couldn't do for us, she would do for us. And I always thought that was so dope, because imagine being in college and trying to make your own way through that, but still showing up as somewhat of a parent to your younger sisters. Like, I just always thought that was so cool. As a child, do I feel like I was loved? When I think about like unconditional love, I give you hugs and kisses. When you mess up, you're in trouble, but it's okay. Just that undeniable nurturing thing, I got that from my grandmother, which was always kind of interesting because she dealt with her own like personal issues, but somehow she was always able to give me that. But outside of my grandmother, I mean, I know my mom loved me, but it wasn't like a affectionate home. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I love you, oh, give me a hug, how was school today, sit down, and no. It was one of those things, like, you know your parent loves you. I know my mom loves me. I know my siblings and I, love each other, but it's just not something that we said, and I didn't even realize how much it was an issue. Maybe that has shaped me into who I am, as far as like hiding my feelings, or doing something like this makes me uncomfortable because feelings were wrong in our house. Ain't no crying, ain't no saying, like, that's wrong. We dealt with so much loss at a young age. We dealt with so many interesting things within our family, and with my grandmother losing her hearing, and then because of that, becoming like a paranoid schizophrenic and needing to take medicine, and going through her. We probably needed to be emotional. We needed to be able to speak, to release, but we just didn't. We were kind of like trained to, okay, this is what it is, let's move past that. Even in my career, like, if something gets weird, I'm gonna move to the next thing. Okay, this makes no sense, I'm not even gonna discuss this. I'm gonna move to the next thing, I'm gonna move to the next thing. So one thing that people probably wonder, well, why doesn't it ever work? Or why, was she with this manager, or then this manager, or this label, whatever. But in my personal life, I was kind of like trained to, if something doesn't feel right to me or it's not working, I'm gonna just move, I'm gonna see how else I can do this. I'm not gonna hurt anybody in that process. I'm not gonna try to like drive it into the ground, trying to make it work. Like, I'm just gonna kind of do my own thing and make my own detour and kind of see where that lands me. My mom is very like outspoken within her household, but then very quiet, very shy, very reserved. And so one thing I do remember her telling me once was that she wanted to make sure her kids were not like that. You know, like speaking up for themselves, because she felt like she didn't speak up for herself, right? So she instilled in us to be strong and to just not settle or take anything. And all of my sisters are like that. We've all been very much so outspoken. And, you know, when I was younger, I was more of like, Aquarius, look at me. I am the lead singer, I am that. And I think my mom liked that about me because that wasn't necessarily who she was. My mom always had to be like so strong, I guess, to the point where when we wanted the softer side of her, we never really got that. One thing I thought that was so dope about my mom was that she knew that I wanted to be some sort of dancer, musician, actress. I wanted to be in arts. So she would find stuff around our community, whether it be Berkeley Black Repertory Theater. So she always found like the things that nurtured my talent. And I would always be the one Black girl in everything. So this is the Black Repertory Theater. We're in Berkeley, California. This is where I learned a lot about theater, about the arts, about portraying a character. My first play ever was Joe Turner Come and Gone by a playwright, August Wilson, who I ended up going on to college and majoring in theater, but Black Rep is kind of what started that want for me to get on stage and portray other actors and really dive into it. So my mom brought me here at a young age, under the mentoring of John Doyle, who's passed on now. But he was one of the first people in my life to talk to me about the importance of theater, how to, you know, portray a character, understanding the playwrights, breaking down characters. And I always thought it was dope to have something like this in an urban area. Like, what areas do you know cater to young kids who are interested in theater? But this is where I learned early on that I wanted to entertain people through comedy, through portraying different characters, even playwriting. It just nurtured this thing that I always felt like I knew I wanted to do in my future. So my mom recognized that she recognized that in me as a young girl, excuse me. And Black Rep is one of the first places that I was able to nurture that talent. It's uncomfortable to be completely vulnerable, but I feel like I owe that to my fans for one. And, you know, I'm challenging myself to do things that, you know, make me feel